Okay, good afternoon to everybody and welcome to Smart City on the behalf of City of Kokkola also. As you may were heard that on Slido there is a few questions about digital things and industry and do we take those things into account enough? So please have the answers around these questions. Let's see what you will answer then later on in the Slido thing. The first question is about do we take digital things in industrial development into account enough in Finland? And then the second question is about cost efficiency. Many times you speak that digital things are important in developing and they are very cost efficient. I'm a little bit of the different opinion, but please state your opinions. And yeah. Do we have any results there? Quite clear statements. I agree with this one. Totally. Same things and thoughts. About the cost efficiency, I would like to mention in the beginning a few words that it's kind of interesting when you always say that you make some digital solutions and then you follow, say that it's very efficient to do those, but then you get the annual fees, startup fees for the services and then you have 5 or 6 services, so it's not that cheap. But at least with the first question, you agree pretty much. Okay, maybe that about the Slido thing and let's continue with the official presentation part. If we change the slides. Okay, so I will give you first of all a short introduction to Kokkola Industrial Park, Northern Europe's biggest concentration of inorganic chemical industry in Kokkola. And then we have an interesting project where I think we combine smart city things with industry and also take into account environmental and things about the society also. But to make the introduction pretty quick and short, I would like to show you a short movie here. As you can see, Kokkola Industrial Park is a big chemical cluster containing many different companies and activities at the industrial park and the area. Actually, there is more than 70 companies operating on the industrial park area, and 2,280 employees are working there daily. The export value of the area is 1.7 billion euros per year, and the investment speed is around 100 million euros per year. There is also happening very interesting things there. Keliber is looking at their lithium factory to locate it there, and Umicore have bought up a part of Freeport and are planning battery chemicals production. Of course, there is different challenges also with the industrial park, but this case is interesting in many ways because you speak about circular economy for over 50 years. It has been started up by 2 government-owned companies in history, and today there is operating a lot of companies at the industrial park. What have we been doing with the industrial park is, of course, developing it and try to improve and strengthen the cluster to find the synergies in between companies there. Now we are going ahead into a phase where environmental things, social things are getting even more important at the industrial park. And this case I will present in the panel discussion also is more into that and looking for the future in those questions. Here is a quick glimpse at the companies operating at the industrial park. Many big companies over the world are located there also. This slide is one that I want to share to you all. It's about the circular economy. So at the industrial park, you don't have trucks driving materials from one factory to another. They are just going via pipelines from one company. So one company's side streams are raw materials for other companies. And that's makes the industrial park very efficient in its activities also in the future. And of course, it's very competitive in that way. But of course, taking care of the side streams and like heat and steam and so on from the production as side products makes it sometimes challenging. You have to think about how you take care of the things, how you price them between companies, and how things are invested at the industrial park. But that more or less as a short introduction to you about the industrial park. Now I would like to introduce the panelists to you and start up the panel discussion and tell about the case a little bit more. But let's take the panelists on the stage first. Welcome. Lökkäti. So we have 3 guys here eager to introduce themselves, but I will tell a little bit about the case first, what we are planning to do and starting up to do at the industrial park. We have land zone for heavy chemicals industry at the industrial park, and that's a unique thing that we need to take care of. There are companies that are located on the park at places they shouldn't be in the future because we need it for the industrial use. That's why we are aiming to start to build a new land, which is like 6 hectares. And that land is very greenfield investment. There have never been industry at those places before. Now we want to do it as good as we can, so we start with planning and doing it also digital from the beginning. So we know everything that will be built there. We can follow up the environmental issues. Also, in a discussion today with the people, with the citizens, we need to have an open discussion. We have a platform that we can use in information sharing and of course create business possibilities for the companies at the site. The challenging part is that the land is very nearby groundwater area, so we have to really take into account the environmental issues. We have started up this project this autumn and together with these companies that will represent themselves soon, so we will start up this and get it up and running in the near future. But maybe if Ilkka starts first, short presentation of your company and yourself.
Okay, thank you. Hello everybody, I'm Ilkka Suonen from Esri Finland. I work as a CTO for the company, and Esri is doing location intelligence. In practice, that means maps, analytics, IoT, sustainability, civic engagement, all those things that are really important when we try to do environmentally friendly buildings and developments in the area.
Okay, then next.
Okay, my name is Mika Kemppi. I work as a product marketing manager at a company called MFOS. We do content management, information management services, and implementations in various different industries, various different verticals, but also obviously working together with Esri on different communities and communal projects as well.
And then Sakari.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Sakari Karppinen. I actually work for the government organization called Business Finland, and so we are the main source for innovation funding in Finland, and we try to help companies to grow global and also help to build new ecosystems or high-performance ecosystems in this context.
Yeah, this high-performance ecosystem sounds very interesting, and let's see, we will come back to that later on. When you start usually planning areas as an industrial park, you go to the planning board and try to make the plans first and have quite big consulting projects usually, and they take long time and it will take very, very much energy to come to the goal and get finally the factory there, if you think. But I would like to ask, especially MFOS and Esri, that how do you see that the benefit, what are the benefits with going digital in these kind of processes, and can you speeden up the processes to get a new factory built there?
Yeah, I would say that that's quite obvious actually. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term digital twin, but that's like essential nowadays when you do, for example, manufacturing. So why wouldn't we use a similar concept when we are developing in areas and land and cities, for example? Digital twin is as important there as it's in construction or other manufacturing industries.
Yeah, from our point of view, obviously the majority and then the biggest impact that we can make usually is in making things visible, removing a lot of the different information silos that we have with a lot of these very either old or not that compliant systems that are out there. Sometimes we don't even have systems. So what we can do is remove a lot of the barriers and bring that information a lot more visible to not only the other systems so that people can get a better picture, but also obviously to a lot more people and constituents.
These silos about information sounds very interesting. It sounds that I would be like home in the city organization because you have a lot of the silos there and traditionally working that way. How do you see, guys, that do the planning processes already have changed in cities in Finland? If you look at these kind of projects, are we more quick and efficient already today, or do we have many steps to go still?
Yeah, I would say that some cities are making progress, yes, but we still have a long way to go in that sense. And on a daily basis, when I visit our customers, I still see a lot of information silos, so there's a lot of work to be done there. But some of the organizations have tackled the problem and started getting things right, and it seems promising. And for example, we, with MFiles working with different cities, have been able to push boundaries a bit and speed up the progress there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times it's come to a budgeting decision as well. You know, you have a budget to develop this, but don't really have a budget to develop that. What that usually does is that you create a system for this when it comes to budget for that. Nobody has a holistic view of the entire situation, and that usually runs us into these problems.
Do you think that there in future, if you go very many years ahead, that there could be a possibility for the municipalities to cooperate with each other around these kind of issues and even share the information, because cities are competing again together? How can they share information, or could this be something in the future?
And I think it's only a natural way to progress forward. Once a lot more of these applications become a lot more platform-like, they themselves get to decide what do they share, why do they share it, and what part of the process they're actually sharing it. So I think it's very much the way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sharing is the way to the future, but of course you can decide what you are sharing. You don't need to share everything. And for example, then building on top of that, like open data and stuff like that, you can really open up these things also to citizens so that they can see really what's happening and what's interesting around their home neighborhoods.
Okay. I think from my point of view, we are still in quite early development. So I'm talking mostly to industrial customers, and what I keep hearing is about digital platforms, digital twins, etc. So, and there is a lot of proof of concepts and pilots ongoing in different verticals that Business Finland has also supported. So, but I think it's still quite open space.
Okay, this was a good, interesting thing. If you look at Finland on an international map or on a European map or Scandinavian map, how do you think we are proceeding in Finland in this competition between countries?
Well, I think, as I referred to, there is probably more potential in the industrial and B2B space, and there are big players in consumer platforms already there. But I think Finland has I think we have a digital expertise and strong industrial know-how, and combining those, I think we are pretty well positioned in that game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more potential that is being used right now. I think, as you mentioned, Finland has a great pool of talent, and we're only now starting to see the possibilities of using digitalization as not only a way to sort of save money, but to also drive the business, and what can we do when we actually have the current information from all around.
Yeah, there's a lot of promise, I think, especially in developing processes and ways of working, how we do things. That's really a big area, and it's not just about developing technology, it's about how to use them, modernize our ways of working. That's probably the most important thing in the coming years.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of the times you talk to how far are you in your digital journey, and it's like we've already scanned all of our documents or all of our information, and I think we're done, which is like probably not quite there yet. I'd say.
I think Finland is also a pretty good test laboratory. That there is a tradition of public-private partnership and a culture for that. So I think that's also one of our strengths in this area.
Going back a little bit to the municipalities and cities, and you spoke about the obstacles and silos there. What you guys that come from the private side, what do you see is the biggest obstacle in a city to come into really to be a digital city and bring in the digital things in planning?
I would say it's the silos. Information silos, but also the silos of operations. Each department is pretty much working on their own, not really doing a lot of cooperation with the neighboring department. So it's really stuck on that old ways of working.
And that sort of brings us to the sharing part as well, where a lot of the times we figure out if our department has access to all of the information, that's great, but what about the department next door, with whom we're actually trying to work towards a goal together, although different aspects of it, but that usually gets lost in the middle mix somehow.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on a little bit. I'm just thinking for myself, who should carry the responsibility for developing the digital processes in planning and bringing the smart things into traditional areas? Is it the municipalities or is it the private sector? I mean, municipalities, they have the monopoly on planning and doing the land planning, or is it the private sector that should really drive it, or is it the government organization should give money to those who makes this first of all? Sakari, do you have any idea or thought about this?
Well, I think there is plenty of players in this field, and what I have seen, there is a emergence of sort of platform companies who could act as data operators, or large companies could have that role, and I think in general technology is probably the bottleneck here. It's the governance models and how you share the value and who owns the data, those kind of things that are quite challenging in this area.
I think it's an interesting question, because I think, if we look at it from the company's point of view, they're there to make money. If we look at it from the municipality's point of view, they're there to help companies make money so that you have jobs, so that people have welfare. So I think a lot of the times these single functions, these single companies, they're rarely in a place where they could be that large that they'd be able to take responsibility of the planning of the entire sector, for example. I feel a lot of the times, the municipalities can take a bigger role, a larger role in providing that sort of a framework under which the companies can then function. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think it's how you think of this. You should probably think of this as an innovation platform, where different parties can participate, like companies, city officials, citizens, academia, startups, all coming together around this innovation platform, each doing their own share and creating then, based on that, something new. For example, those new ways of working or whatever you are doing. And
finding mutual benefits as well between the companies because of the openness of it.
It's an interesting point that this is really not a one-man show. You have to cooperate and do things together to succeed and make maybe something new. And as mentioned, Finland is a good test platform, a quite small community in one way, and an area where you can really test things. Of course, sustainability and environmental, social questions are big things today, and I mentioned about the communication to citizens, people living in the city. That's an important part, how you open up the things that you are doing. In planning land for city or making land for industrial living or so on, the communication process is getting even more important. Do you have, guys, any perspectives on how you can, with the digital things, help out the communication to the citizens and people about what you are planning to do?
Yes, it goes once again to the sharing of information, and not only like sharing open data. That's a good thing, but for many of the citizens, it's really difficult. They don't have the tools or knowledge to benefit from open data directly. But you could actually create a layer on top of that which visualizes the open data that you are sharing to the community, and then based on that they can actually find out what's happening, what's been planned, and then probably act on that information.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess for the question that can this help sustainability, if you are digital solutions, if they increase the operational efficiency and sharing of resources and investment capability, I think there is potential for that.
I mean, in terms of that sustainability, obviously, not only the openness of the data, but in terms of how quickly we can rely on the information that we've gathered of the actual places that we are. We're seeing more and more regulation on these types of land planning, etc. So having this sort of information available to us at all times not only makes the process more reliable, but a lot quicker for us to plan these things in a more sustainable way.
And you mean if there then, when you are running also the place, if there happens something, it's easier to communicate that there is happening something that people should react or
It's two sides of it. It's reactive, but it's also proactive. In terms of, for example, I think we talked about this, running certain types of simulations in terms of like
that's right.
what would happen if something were to happen. Who needs to have the information at what point so that we can most effectively tackle the issue. So it's not, we can't look at it only as a, sort of a one-way street.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe the last question, and might be the biggest question also in one way, that I'm all the time thinking about the silos inside the municipality and city, but also thinking about silos between the cities and even between the countries if you start to think really big and go in the future. Any thoughts or ideas or hints for me how cities could cooperate in these kind of issues, and maybe how we could get the cities to come out from the silos and try to do things together? Because I think that doing this together could improve the Finnish competitiveness in all also. But any ideas? This is a quite big question.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, I think that yes, this can be used in a larger context. That's for sure. It's not just for this area. You can scale this up to a bigger context, and especially if you can set up really a good working innovation platform on top of all of this, so that many parties are participating, and you can start from extending from there to the other cities, providing them also the opportunity to do things in a similar way. Maybe they shift it a bit to a different direction based on their own needs, but in the end, they pretty much have similar requirements. So why not?
I think it's one of the most actually exciting opportunities that this sort of a thing provides. Because if we look at some of the services that we already provide, or that are already being provided for public, for single citizens, you have, let's say, Google Maps. They used to do very, very small things. For example, they used to have, for example, driving routes or something. But right now, we're already combining things from train tables to local bus schedules to everything, so that it's already utilizing information from a lot of places to create a better user experience for the end user. I think in this case as well, if we can find from different communities, from different municipalities, different bottlenecks, different things like what are the different processes that actually take long, how have other municipalities been able to tackle them, and be able to share that information together in terms of like larger perspective, I think that offers a very interesting opportunity rather than a threat.
This was a very good point, to get the information from maybe the part now is that should be opened is the municipalities really, that they should open the gates and doors and make it then to a national thing. Sakari, do you see on a national level, could there be any cluster or program around these kind of issues?
Well, as I said, that we have been funding platforms in several different verticals. There are smart building platforms, smart city platforms, smart factory platforms, and there are maybe some similarities and maybe some differences between the verticals. And also a little bit question that what kind of platform you are developing. Is it like a marketplace type, or is it true innovation platform where the others can build on top on their own risk? But I think there is plenty of potential in this area.
Okay. Do anybody have ideas that is somebody doing in Europe already this, or in the world, or Scandinavia?
Yeah, I see some of the examples. In United States, for example, there are some cities. In Canada, there are some cities which are doing these types of things. When we are talking about ports, for example, Rotterdam port is one of good examples. Although it's really a big one, but still they are doing similar things. So we see this happening.
Okay,